what's good for us is 2 weeks of Aaron Rodgers on Jeopardy, and I will be watching it. I will be recording it. I will be enjoying it, and I think he'll be great. What struck me, Chris, a little mini media tour from Aaron Rodgers late last week aimed at creating some buzz. And in so doing, he spoke to Rob Demovsky of ESPN.com. Aaron sounds very confident that he went in there and he hit a grand slam home run. And Aaron Rodgers, in my estimation, smart enough and sufficiently self-aware to know that he did, that he wouldn't be out there creating an unrealistic expectation if he wasn't completely confident that we're going to be blown away by his ability to come in and run the game the way that Alex Trebek ran it for decades. So I was surprised, but pleasantly surprised, to see the confidence that he exuded, the preparation he put into it, and his estimation that the producers were blown away by what he did. So I think that's great. I think that's awesome. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. And I have a feeling we're all going to like very much what Aaron Rodgers is capable of doing.
I don't doubt that one bit. I mean, I'm a fan of Jeopardy. So, I'm not I've become somewhat of a regular watcher of the show. I'm very excited for it. Oddly enough, for the second time this show, it's my Aunt Wendy who got me into Jeopardy, So I am pumped, and I'm not shocked to hear, him boast like this a little bit, or for him to think this. I mean, first off, it sounds like he got some feedback to go, they were like, wow, okay, you did a really damn good job. He is an NFL starting quarterback, so I'm sure they were a little bit worried about going to commercials and how he would clean certain things up, just the TV mechanics. But he's Aaron Rodgers. You know he's got great self-confidence, right? He's kind of like a psycho and perfectionist and going to study and try to do that type of stuff. And then he's got an unbelievable cockiness about him. Come on. Is there any other great quarterback we've ever seen who's smiling more or getting hit during games and still kind of laughing oh, this is fun out here. You guys are working, but this is fun. I mean, it's just the attitude I expected. So I am kind of excited to certainly be watching it tonight, no doubt.
My only concern, when I look at what he said and what he did, I took pages and pages of notes. I wrote down every affirmative that Alex Trebek said to any type of clue. I wrote down how he would respond if they didn't get it right. I wrote down beat points of the show. I wrote down all the different ways he would take it to break. I wrote down the stuff he said coming out of break. Literally, I studied for this like no other. I wanted to absolutely crush it. It can't be Aaron Rodgers pretending to be Alex Trebek.
Yeah, right.
At some point, he's got to make it about him being the host of Jeopardy. But maybe the transition and maybe the wisdom of it is, if you started off with that familiarity, and if you get people to say, hey, wait a minute, there's something, they have that recognition that this feels like it felt all those years, that you do that.
Right.
And then you make it your own at some point during the course of the 2-week run. And even though it will play out for 2 weeks on our TVs or whatever device we watch TV on nowadays, it was something that was done in 2 days. That's the beauty of the game show host gig. You work 1 day a week. You work 1 day and you get the whole week in the can, and then you got the rest of the week to do whatever you want to do. In that regard, it's a lot like football.
That sounds
good. 1 day a week. Although you still work in between, there's 1 day when you really have to perform. And Chris, I'm telling you, I watched a little bit of Dr. Oz as the guest host, and he was the guest host the last 2 weeks. And, of course, with Rodgers, with this media blitz and us talking about it, you're welcome, Aaron, it's going to get more people to watch it, and the ratings are going to spike, and that's going to catch the eye of the producers. If he did as well as he seems to think he did, how do they not look at the full range of guest hosts and say who stands out, who should be the permanent host? He's got to be in consideration for it. And people think that's crazy to suggest. Somebody's going to be the next host.
Yeah.
And a small list of somebody's was on the roster of guest hosts, so the universe can't be gigantic. It's not like they're doing a nationwide sweep of the next Jeopardy host. They've got a list of obvious finalists under the guise of guest hosts. So if he really did kick ass the way that he thinks he did, what happens if they... Packers fans think I'm trolling them or him. I think it's an obvious conclusion to the confidence he's exuding about the performance we haven't seen yet.
Well, yeah.
That if he really did blow it away, they may want him for the job.
Well, they may want him for the job. I mean, he is excited. I mean, there's no doubt about that. He's certainly showing us that, like, that this is something he didn't just, hey, I'm going to go in there and kind of wing it and see how it goes. He obviously invested some time in studying as he, like, laid out there what he did, writing notes and all that type of stuff. But, like, okay, so if he kills it this week, they offer him the show. I mean, first off, I want to know, how much does that guy make? How much is does he make NFL quarterback money? Because that's the first thing we got to ask to figure this situation out.
Well, I did a little research over the weekend.
Right,
Somebody
okay.
told me that Alex Trebek was making $10 million a year. I saw as high as $18 million a year. So I'm
Okay.
at least willing to stipulate it's 8 figures.
Yeah.
Plus, once you have that job,
Right.
you can have it for 40 years. I mean, that's the thing. This isn't
I know.
an NFL shelf life type gig. This is the ultimate post-playing job for someone who has said, Chris, on multiple occasions, he's got no interest climbing into a broadcast booth where Tony Romo's making $18 million a year.
Right.
So you go to a different route, you stay in TV, you make gigantic money, and you do it for 30 or 40 years, assuming that the show continues to be viable. And in this age of fracturing of the audience, Jeopardy is as popular as ever. People are still finding ways to watch it. They're just watching it differently than they used to.
Yeah.
And the show has thrived like no other game show. So he gets that spot. He runs with it into his 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s if he wants to. That's so. And that's why I raised.
I hear you.
But here's why I raised the question: if the door opens for him
Right.
between now and September, and he says no, thank you,
It's probably
the door
closed
may
forever.
close.
Yeah, forever maybe.
The only way that it wouldn't is if whoever gets it flames out quickly because that person can't deal with the pressure of following Alex Trebek.
Right.
And within 2 or 3 years, it's just, we got to go to somebody else. Just like a great coach. It's hard to follow a great coach. It's hard to follow a great quarterback. It's high. And what Aaron Rodgers followed a great quarterback in Green Bay. He knows all about picking up the baton for a great quarterback and moving on. So I think he'd be fine, but others may falter. That would be his only hope if he said no, that whoever gets the gig flames out in a few years and they come back to Aaron Rodgers. But that's a hell of a roll of the dice for a job that he apparently covets. And look, we have to have that on our radar screen. It's not trolling. It's reality. If they would offer him that job, what would he say? And I think you got to at least consider the possibility he'd say yes.
I mean, I hear you. I think, like, I would sit there and think, okay, I would consider the possibility of him saying yes if this was, like, maybe 2 or 3 years down the road. But, like, at this point, right now, MVP season 48-5. It's the second year of going 13-3. They're so close. He's so good still. You can only play football so many years like you're talking about. I mean, I would still imagine this is what he is and wants to do, and his passion, as cool as, like, Jeopardy is. And I'm sure there is a real passion and probably a real wanting to, like, maybe dive into that and do that. I just still think this is a guy that has a burning to be the greatest quarterback of all time. And I think he still looks at it and goes, wait, I could still win a few more MVPs, and I still got a chance to win a Super Bowl or two and climb the list.
Is that going to make him the quarterback? If he wins a Super Bowl or two, with Tom Brady at 7, is that going to make him the greatest quarterback of all time?
No, not in most people's eyes, no. But, he'll have people like me here touting his, and saying it. I'll continue. But I just think you only have these amount of years to play. There's only so much you can play. I think he loves the game too much. I would just be shocked at this point. We were a little closer to 40, and this was like hanging out there. Maybe we would do it, but I just think he's still looking at it like he's got stuff to prove and things he wants to do with his career before he's ready to be, Alex Trebek quite yet.
Well, I don't think that it's an easy answer because he's smart enough to know
that. Right.
when that door opens,
it's a big
you
door
have
that's
to
cool.
make the decision.
Right. Yeah.
And what are you going to regret more over the balance of your life? Not sticking around for a few more years in the NFL or passing on something that could be a multi-decade opportunity to live out a dream and have quarterback money-ish for decades to come, and also a very high profile and a big platform without having to be involved in the sports world, which he said he doesn't want to do. That's the key. What else is Aaron Rodgers going to do in media that isn't sports media other than host Jeopardy? That's the key. Now maybe he'll end up hosting a late night show. Maybe he'll end up on the evening news somewhere. Maybe the guy can do anything.
Yeah.
We've always looked at Peyton Manning as the example of someone who can thrive in whatever he chooses to do. I think that's a mindset that we need to apply to all the great quarterbacks.
Sure.
That they can probably transfer the skills that made them great, even though it ultimately starts with the arm. There's so much more that goes into it than that.
Definitely.
That there are transferable skills, whether it's Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, the list goes on and on. The great quarterbacks probably are set up to be successful in whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
But if he wants to host Jeopardy, the moment to make a decision, if offered, it won't matter if it's not offered.
Yeah,
if it's
right,
offered,
right.
That's what's an issue. He was on ESPN with Kenny Mayne, and he was asked about his future with the Packers. Aaron Rodgers said, "So far, it's definitely been my team. I said last year I didn't know if it was actually possible to be able to finish there in Green Bay. I still feel that's kind of where we're at. I don't know that a lot of that is in my hands. I guess we'll just kind of see as we go." And this guy's coming up on 1 year of feeling like his future is not in his hands because of the drafting of Jordan Love, because of the questions that have continued to linger, because of the fact that the Packers didn't come to him this offseason and say, let's minimize your cap number for 2021 so we can go out and get more players, and in turn, we're necessarily bound to you for 2 more years, not a year-to-year type of a thing. He's smart enough to process all that. He's smart enough to see which way the wind's blowing.
Yeah.
And the one way, Chris, that he can give the folks in Green Bay who are showing some degree of ambivalence to him, the people in the organization who aren't willing to make that multi-year commitment, the up-your-butt Joe Boo move,
right?
Pardon me, on a Monday morning would be to go take over Jeopardy.
Yeah,
that would be the best exit for him. Who could criticize him? Who from the past? He's not going to be the Brett Favre pariah. It's not like he went to play for the Vikings. He exited altogether to an equally significant platform that he's going to have for years to come.
Well, yeah, okay. I mean, maybe he could do that, you're right, and not ruffle like as many feathers with the fan base and things like that. But at the same time, if he wants to make like the ultimate like up your butt Joe Boo type of move, right? And really stick it to the Packers, that means no, he would not go host Jeopardy. It means he would go to another team here when it's all said and done and be like, oh, okay, you guys want Jordan Love? That's good. Yeah, I'm still playing at an MVP level, and now I'm going to go play at an MVP level somewhere else, and we're going to win football games. And now you got to deal with that talk, Green Bay, because this will be different than, again, like we've talked about before with Brett Favre. This is different. Brett Favre kept opening the door and going, look, I can walk out. Look, I can walk out. Here's the door. Look, I can walk out. Aaron Rodgers, on the other hand, they're showing him the door. They're like, here's the door. It's cracked open. Here we go. Like, you're going right down that hallway. There's a different thing there to where Green Bay fans would be crazy to be critical of Rodgers of anything he's done. If he did anything to this, after this is what I'm saying. Makes a decision to host Jeopardy, whatever it may be. He's been put in a corner. He's in a tough situation. He's the best player on the team, and it's one of the few situations in the whole league where the best player on the team is being made feel like by the team that, we like you just here for a little bit longer, and that's about it. And there's not too many scenarios about that, or scenarios like that around the league. And I think that probably does drive him crazy, and I think it should give him the benefit of the doubt, I guess is what I'm saying with the Packer fan base if this ever did come to this.
I think more importantly than the Packers having the, we just want you here for a little bit longer mindset, I think there's a manipulation involved, and it emanates from CEO Mark Murphy, who knows I've said this before, that sweet spot of pissed offedness that you want to keep Aaron Rodgers in, where he's agitated by the situation just enough to be awesome on the football field, and keeping him stirred up is what gets him in that zone.
Okay.
And look at what it did last year. Look at what it did.
Yeah.
And I think Murphy wants to keep him just pissed off enough to do it again this year. And Chris, something occurred to me.
Right.
We assume that the folks who run Jeopardy are going to make some hard line, thou shalt give us an answer by July 31 or something like that. Rodgers could broker a deal with Jeopardy where they just kick the can through the end of the year with guest hosts, and he says after the season ends, give me one more season. After the season ends, then I'll do it. He could do that. Maybe that's the compromise. One more year of football, and he tells the people at Jeopardy secretly, quietly, discreetly that once the season's over, that's when he's going to step aside and become the host of Jeopardy. This all flows from the presumption that they want him. But again, if this guy's out there doing the advanced victory lap, think about that. He's doing an advanced victory lap telling everybody what a kick-ass job he did hosting Jeopardy. Unless he lacks the self-awareness that I believe he has, he blew it out of the water, and they're probably going to want him. That's what this is all premised on.
Well, let me ask you this: did they do any of these press tours with the Katie Courics or the Dr. Oz's or anything like this? Like, I don't remember hearing anything this aggressive. Like, I knew they were coming, but do you know, seriously? Did you hear press tours like this with that group? What are you giggling about?
I'm not familiar with Katie Couric. I don't know who Katie Couric is.
Katie Couric?
I know who Katie Couric is.
Couric? Okay.
Couric.
All right.
Close enough.
All right,
Close
I got
enough. it. I don't look. It's not like Katie Couric, Dr. Oz, whoever else has been the guest host. It's not like it's going to land on the sports media radar screen.
I know.
So
I know. I just was wondering
if there wasn't. But I didn't notice anything. Nothing made it onto Twitter. I didn't see that Dr. Oz was hyping his 2 weeks. I mean, this is part of the strategy that Aaron Rodgers is smart enough to engage in.
Well,
hey, look, wait a minute. What's going to help me get the attention of the producers? And even if he doesn't want the job, he's competitive. I want to have the best ratings of anyone who was a guest host. So I'm going to go out and goose the ratings.
Well, that's what I would think, though, that he is doing this because Jeopardy has also gone, wait, he did a really good job. We'd like to get his name out there and get a little, something behind the show when he hosts it. We thought it was really impressive. Aaron, would you mind talking to these media outlets? That's probably how it worked. I don't think he was calling up companies going, hey, guys, guess what? I was awesome at Jeopardy. Do you want to do an interview with me? I doubt it. I mean, maybe he's that cocky of a person. I know he's got great self-confidence. I don't think he's that cocky. I don't think he is. I would think something was, this was brought to him by somebody, all right? And then here, last thing too, not the last thing, but to get back to your point with the Mark Murphy thing. Okay, there might be some logic to that. I hear you. But this is the last year you can do that crap, Mark Murphy, if that is the truth, or if that's what's going on, where you're trying to find this sweet middle ground. This is it. I mean, this is the only year, because after this, it's no, Aaron Rodgers is going to have the power in his court, or have the ball in his court to do whatever he wants here, because it's going to be first off, I don't think he's going to fall off a cliff. He's still going to be one of the best quarterbacks in football. And they're going to have to make some sort of commitment or something here, or he's going to have to force his way. That honeymoon is over about saying oh, we're going to motivate you by kind of keeping you in uncertainty land here all this time. So that to me too is very, very real, and they better be careful with that, because Rodgers might at the end of this year just go, screw you guys. Yeah, I'm still awesome and we're in the Super Bowl window, but you do nothing to really support me in free agency once again, and we'll see what they do in the draft. And he might just say, the hell with it. I'm out of here.
The thing I like about Aaron Rodgers the most is there are layers and levels, and there's a mystery there, and you never really know what it is that he wants to do. Even though he'll say the things that he needs to say, I think deeper down, there's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, he gets that opportunity. He gets that opportunity to host Jeopardy, and that changes everything potentially. And I could see it most, if he wants that gig, him working it out so he could do one more year with Green Bay and then ride off into the sunset with or without a Lombardi trophy, but into a gig that he'll have for years to come and decades to come, potentially, if he really did as well as he seems to think he did.